Once again, liberty was represented so often in the past in an image and also in the words on the coin. The Walking Liberty that I mentioned before was perhaps the last coin that we had in circulation that actually had the image of liberty on the coin. The Walking Liberty was replaced by the Franklin half-dollar. Franklin half-dollar had the Liberty bell on the back. Fortunately, of course, the American Eagle is still represented on the back of the coin, as the American Eagle is represented on the back of all half-dollars and above. One of the things that's interesting in this is the image of liberty is gone. Fortunately, liberty is still written across the top of the coin. Franklin half-dollar was minted from 1948 until 1963. Of course, the Franklin half-dollar was replaced by the Kennedy half-dollar. The Kennedy half-dollar was first minted in 1964. Now, they rushed to get this coin minted, of course, because Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. Again, I have no aversion to memorializing our presidents. But the issue is whether or not we are continuing to remember our liberty. Our coinage should be a representation of that. That really was the intention of it throughout our history. Now, liberty is printed boldly across the top of the half-dollar. I mentioned that the silver content of our coins went down throughout the mid-1900s. This coin that I'm holding right here, this is a 1964 Kennedy half-dollar. This is the last one that was made fully of silver. From this point forward, from the mid-60s, they started reducing the silver content until we got to the point where there is no silver in our coins anymore. You may notice when you look at the edge of a coin that there's sort of a brownish reddish band that runs around the edge of the reed on the coin. Well, that shows you that that coin was actually a clad coin. It means it has a copper center. I have a modern coin here. This again is a modern quarter. I think it's a 2005. It's a 2007, and it's a Utah quarter. It represents Utah on the back of it. It's one of the coins that was done in the state series. Why am I bringing this up? As I mentioned, Washington is the image on these quarters. Here's one that we have minted in 1956. Again, this was a silver coin. They still made them out of silver at the time. At the top of the quarter, the word liberty is printed boldly above Washington's head, again with "In God We Trust" written down near his chin and the date. But now we find in 2007, here we have the quarter, but across the top, it's not liberty, it's the United States of America. Now, fortunately, liberty is still written on the coin, but it has a much smaller place of prominence on the coin. It's taken the place of "In God We Trust" near Washington's chin, and the "In God We Trust" is written in smaller letters to the right of Washington. So aside from the image of Washington, the most bold feature of the coin now is the United States of America. Those words. And again, we no longer have the image of the American Eagle on the back of the coin. We've got the image of one of our states. I have another modern coin here. It's a Jefferson nickel. And on the reverse, they are commemorating the Lewis and Clark expedition. And on the face of it, they've got an image of Jefferson in profile. It says "In God We Trust" across the top edge of it. And near Jefferson's mouth is the word liberty, written in script. And its position of prominence on this coin, it was minted in 2005. It's very small. And it's written in script. It's harder to read. It's harder. It doesn't stand out like it did on the older coins. In fact, it kind of reminded me of Jefferson whispering the word, almost. It was almost as if Jefferson's whispering to us on this coin. What are you forgetting about? You see, we talk a lot about responsibility. I hear it on the news. I see it in the papers and on the internet, people talking about needing to get control of their debt. I thought it was interesting. I was in the post office a few days ago and I needed to buy a stamp for a letter I was mailing. And I couldn't use my change to buy the stamp. I had to swipe my debit card to get my stamps. They don't even have change machines on the stamp machines anymore. I had to use plastic to buy the stamps. It seemed an irony to me. If we spent more time actually looking at the money that we have passing through our hands and considering the liberty that we once had to actually have that money, perhaps we wouldn't give it up so easily. I've been guilty of it myself. I get overdraft charges through my bank because I don't pay as much attention to my checkbook as I should, and I don't think twice about it because it's just a decimal point on my checkbook. But if that money was actually sitting in my hand, and if the image of liberty was looking me in the face as I gave it up so easily, perhaps I might think a little more about what I was giving up when I gave that money away. Our liberties are being eroded. And it's simply because we've allowed ourselves to get into debt. We've allowed ourselves to be eroded by our own greed, by our own thoughts of wanting what the next guy has. We may not have what the next guy has for very much longer because we may not have the liberty that the next guy has. We should think twice about these things before we just allow our money to trickle out of our fingers to the point where not only our money is gone, but so are our liberties.